Hi there, this is just a quick update for House of the Dragon, that reliable sources are now saying that production on Season 2 won't begin until late autumn to winter of 2022, so think November-ish. And this isn't really a giant revelation, because it's kind of what we've all been assuming, it's just reliable sources are starting to say it. So this is just a heads up about that this comes from Redanian Intelligence, which is a very reliable fan site for Netflix's The Witcher series, but they also do crossover reporting and other fantasy shows. If you follow my channel, I've been following them for like 3 to 4 years, and their rumors usually turn out to be true, that you can tell they have contacts in the industry, people who work for production, casting, whatever. So this is a news site that reliably hears rumors. It's not just some guy. And to be honest, even in their news article about this, which I'll link in the description box below, they actually had an article a couple of weeks ago, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, where they were just speculating, if filming was going to start earlier than late autumn, we would have heard something by now. So again, we all kind of assume we would have heard something that, we don't think things are going to start up again until around November. And this just settles that. The bigger implication is there is no possible way that they are getting Season 2 out by spring or summer or even fall of next year. We think Season 2 will air spring of 2024. 2023 will be an off year. And there's nothing unusual about this. They're actually moving relatively fast. Remember, I made a previous report like a week ago that HBO actually feels so confident in House of the Dragon that they quietly told the writing staff, unofficially, you're probably going to get greenlit for Season 2. Don't wait for the official green light. Go ahead and start writing now. That don't wait up. We're almost assuredly going to do that. So writing is probably going on this instant. We can tell that they've probably quietly been unofficially greenlit already. They're not on hold or anything. It's just that's how long it takes. That is a massive logistical task to make a TV show. It was so weird how much, like in the behind-the-scenes things, Benioff and Weiss would act like, oh, it's so easy, and then admit, we have no experience in the logistics of filmmaking, so when we say it's easy, we're self-admittedly guys who don't know what we're talking about. Like if you've seen the Last Watch documentary and stuff, of the utter disconnect, that they don't realize just how much goes into this. And yeah, I've drawn parallels to the Fyre Fest documentary, that the idiots making the Fyre Fest music convention, they didn't know all of the things. It's actually rather skilled. It's not just like having a spontaneous block party, that there's a science to, okay, we need to plan out X number of toilets for Y number of people in a crowd, otherwise it's a health code violation. You need a certain amount of water per size of a crowd, you need electrical access, all this other stuff, and planning things that they just didn't think of, because they didn't know what goes into this. This is actually pretty complicated. Now when they say production will begin late autumn to winter, November-ish, I don't know if that even means filming or just building sets. That might take a while, I'm not sure. I'm completely fine with this. I have said this before. I want them to take the time to do it right instead of rushing the material just for the sake of getting something out once every calendar year. HBO did that increasingly on an unsustainable scale because they really wanted to be eligible for every Emmy Awards. I've said this, they really, and openly at times, would say our business model is our shows win Emmy Awards. And then people come for the buzz around that when they don't mean as much as they used to, those awards. But I said in the prior video, even HBO couldn't keep doing that with something on the scale of Game of Thrones. And like Season 7 got delayed, and then Season 8, that at this production scale, no one could make something this big in a single calendar year. And there'll always be people going, well, it'll break up the momentum. You know what breaks up the momentum more than a wait of longer than 12 months? Having a crap season will break the momentum. I've seen other shows do this, like where they just sped off content as much as they could, and it diluted the brand. I want them, like a movie, to think that it's like, and we've seen this more and more with like Marvel projects and Disney stuff and Star Wars. When they're making these TV shows, they happen when they happen. They're not just cranking out Mandalorian, which is relatively good quality. The Loki thing will come back eventually for season 2, that it happens when it happens because it's more like a short-form movie, like a mini-series quality stuff. It's quality over quantity. I'm fine with that, and you think season 7 and 8 particularly, and even back to season 5, I like to think a lot of people have seen the lesson that you can't rush quality like that. I'm okay with this. So everything is on schedule. That's just how long it takes to make this. That calendar year 2023 won't have any House of the Dragon content, unless they're going to surprise us with like some animated stuff, like oversized Blu-ray stuff, I don't know. But the other big point I have is we need that off year for 2 reasons. Selfishly, for me as a content creator, we're always, not just a reactor, but actually researching things. I still need that year off because there's projects I never got to. I want to go through the 8 Dance of the Dragons chapters in Fire and Blood one at a time. One of my big remaining things this summer is I want to go through that bizarre behind-the-scenes book that their mouthpiece Hibbard gave, because they actually reveal really embarrassing things in it. I will get that done by the end of August, but then there's a whole separate task of organizing it into short, succinct, or coherent, documentaries, presenting it to other people, that reading through his bullshit and going, yeah, there were a lot of avoidable stunt accidents in this because you don't know what you're doing. It takes time to make those things. I think I'll be done with reading all of the primary source content and watching all the behind-the-scenes videos I could about what happened on Game of Thrones. If I push it, I can pretty much get done by the time House of the Dragon starts. Then I have to start presenting the final form documentaries on this is what was really going on behind the scenes. I wanted to make a Sansa documentary, books to TV series. That's not happening till after House of the Dragon. And I've realized that might actually be for the best. That I told you, I've said in other scheduled videos, given a choice, I should be working on House of the Dragon prep stuff now, because it's what people are searching for. And we need to build up support for this coming show. More people will be online searching for House of the Dragon Game of Thrones news after Season 1 airs. And this has been my plan since before Season 8. I knew it was going to fail. I knew they were crazy people. That we need, and I've said this before, we need a successful prequel series of some kind, just circulating to keep this in the public eye. That it's not, we never talk about Game of Thrones anymore, but wow, people are talking about the Game of Thrones franchise again. That as long as there is a successful prequel show, even run by other people, such as House of the Dragon, what the hell they did with Game of Thrones, with A Song of Ice and Fire, will never go away. So maybe it's for the best that I'll have like a full-form documentary stuff on behind-the-scenes follies, on what they did to Sansa, all the other stuff, after the premiere, after House of the Dragon Season 1, but throughout 2023. I mean, you've seen the viewership on my videos now compared to like when I made the Stannis books to TV series, what they said about why they did it, and it's just to show off the actor, and they don't really know what they're talking about. That got 200,000 views during the active airing season. Now we're still in off-season mode. So I need that extra year to catch up on long-term projects. I realize you guys are just absorbing content. I said there's 2 reasons. Second reason, and this really does affect everyone, is news sites, the mainstream news sites, are ignoring House of the Dragon. They're not really paying attention to it. Even after the second teaser, all of them are still pouting over Game of Thrones and do not want to go back to Westeros, and they're trying not to pay attention to it, even as there's measurably a groundswell of support for House of the Dragon, or interest in it, that in terms of the trailer views, in terms of IMDb said it's actually the most in the page for House of the Dragon on their website. It's the most visited page of any new show of this year. That weird contrast that mainstream news sites don't want to report on it. I think it's this weird parallel to how when Game of Thrones Season 1 started, a lot of people didn't want to report on it because it's just some fantasy show. Then when it was a really good season, we spent the aftermath trying to explain to people what this show is and what it's about, because no one knew what a Tyrion or a Daenerys was. And we had to introduce it. It's so weird that for a show that got that successful, we have to do that all over again for a prequel era. Even though it's a prequel, that the characters weren't really frequently mentioned by name in the main show, this laid into it. 2 years after they announced we're doing the Dance of the Dragons as a show, I see news sites that are confused about who Rhaenyra is, or who Daemon is. Not obscure characters, but the core ones of, wait, who is Matt Smith playing? Daemon, Rhaenyra's uncle. All this other stuff that point to is we need an off year in 2023 to play catch-up for informing the world about this show. That the news sites were not hitting the ground running with this. And we need that time to lure people back to binge watch this if they don't when it premieres, that it's actually really good. Which it's increasingly looking like Martin himself says it's pretty good. I mean, obviously Season 8 set a low bar to be better than. Even Season 5 set a low bar. But we need that off year now more than ever, even if they made like Seasons 1, 2, and 3 annually and then took a gap between 3 and 4, that's too late. We specifically need a full year off after Season 1 just to get people used to the show, to introduce it, for it to make the rounds. You haven't seen cast members making the rounds on like TV interviews yet or anything. That we need that time to set this up. So from a publicity standpoint, from the news sites more than usual are not paying attention to this, we need that time to proselytize. And from a content perspective, we need to be able to process all of this information. That it's looking like, actually, if you think about it, we're going to go straight from the finale in October to spy photos in November. Maybe they're not filming in November. We'd get spy photos of sets. We'd get casting information. And given how long they took 11 months to film the last one, and it went decently on schedule, so we will be keeping up with news updates. That's half the fun from my perspective, is reporting on it. You know, the fun of the speculation and everything. There won't be just a news dead zone where we're waiting for stuff until maybe mid-2023, and even then, I got backlogged stuff for Fire and Blood chapters, for documentaries about what the hell happened on Game of Thrones because news sites didn't want to report on it. That this is what the schedule's looking like. And, you know, after a couple of years, you know, it'll be like The Crown, where they take a year and a half to make high-quality seasons that we want to rewatch. Everyone's complaining now, oh, well, we don't talk about it anymore. Maybe they took a year and a half to do seasons right. I don't know, but after this first gap year, eventually they're going to stagger it with other spin-offs that are like one-shots. I don't see like a young coreless show lasting 5 seasons. More like 2, 3 at the most. That'd be generous. But, you know, like one-shot miniseries, or like a young Tywin one-season show for the Rain Rebellion. They'll stagger, like what Star Wars and Marvel do, where they stagger releases. But right now, we need this off year, because people have not been paying attention to this franchise. And we still have a lot of backlogged work to do, which is work that other news sites should have done, and that I, as an amateur, am trying to do on my own. Go through what the hell were they doing in their behind-the-scenes interviews, which are insane. So that's what our schedule is looking like here.